What's Your Story? Welcome to the show. I am Catherine Mwangi here at the Villa Rosa Kempinski in Nairobi, Kenya. The first conversation we are having after such a long time. We decided, look, we have done lots of traveling, and it was time to just come back and do some local beautiful stories. And then what do you know? It's not even a local story, but we are happy to be having this conversation with a man, a gentleman who is incredibly special to me, and I'll tell you why. So those of you who know me know I have this knack for saying I'm half Kenyan and half Nigerian, okay? So today you get to see the half Nigerian lineage that I come from, but the man we're about to talk to today is my spiritual authority, my spiritual father, not just me. He's a husband, he is a biological dad to two, father to thousands all over the world, based in the UK, London, overseeing Glory House churches and ministries worldwide. And he is here with us, unbelievably so, Dr. Albert Odulele. Welcome to What's Your Story?
Thank you.
That I am seated here to share, to be a catalyst for Dr. Albert's story. It is such a privilege for me, sir. Really
Thank
is.
you.
Really
it's a joy, as you know.
Yeah. So very cool, calm, collected, but do not be deceived by this demeanor. Give him a microphone, then see what happens. Okay. But today we just want to know his background. Most of us see him here. He comes to minister in Kenya, not just Kenya. He's an internationally acclaimed conference speaker, and when you see somebody on stage ministering the word of God, you just assume that what you see is what you know. But I always say behind every glory there is a story. Yeah. What is your story, sir? What's your beginning?
Ooh, okay. Jenna, Kat, thanks for having me on the set. It's always a joy when you called me. I thought, yes, let's do it. My story is quite simple. My parents, as you would know, are Nigerian, my dad and my mom. And in the early 60s, they were studying in the United Kingdom. So my twin brother, and I am a twin, were born in England. My mom had been married to my dad for years and years and years and years and years without child.
Okay.
Then one day her dad, who was an evangelist at the time, said he had a dream, and in that dream he was walking towards the sea and saw these two babies, identical looking babies, who looked back at him and smiled. And he woke up from the dream and called my mom, there weren't phones at the time, but got in contact with my mom and said, look, you are going to have twin boys, and from what I saw, they're going to be traveling the world preaching the gospel. Wow. Boom, here comes my twin brother and I.
Yes.
But we were born in England. We were there in England for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And then there was a civil war in Nigeria. You probably heard about it, the Biafran War. So my dad, the only son of his mom, thought, nah, my mother's got to see these children that we didn't have for a while, and took us straight back into Nigeria, right in the middle of a civil war, which I cannot explain. So I went back to Nigeria, studied in Nigeria. I studied medicine, and then the Lord said, go back to England, and I found myself in England. So background, I'm British by birth, Nigerian by parenthood, and kingdom by faith.
Yes, I like that. So how old were you when you went back to London?
I just finished, I finished and practiced a bit, so I think I went back to London about 25, 26, somewhere in that region.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went back with your twin brother?
No, he went before me.
Oh, I see.
He studied banking and finance, so 2-3 years. You know the way medicine is, 5, 6, 7 years. So he went back. He just wanted out of Nigeria. So he just went back about 3, 4, 5 years. I never wanted to go back to England. I never did, never.
Why?
I was very involved in Christian activity in Nigeria, very involved, and I was quite known as well. So I thought, I'm not going to be an economic migrant, because people were going to England to make money, and I love God.
Not you.
So my twin brother actually bought me a ticket and said, come to England at least on a holiday, because from the time we went back at the age of 5, I never, ever left Nigeria.
Wow.
So I was the joke of the family, you know. One day my dad bundled me in the car and drove across the border into Benin Republic and said, from now on, if anybody asks you, have you traveled? Say to them, yes, I went abroad, and please don't tell them where you went. So it was not just that bad, but I went, and then when I got to England, don't laugh at this. I'm looking at everything and thinking, oh wow, it's in color. Because the photographs back then were black and white predominantly. So
yes.
I thought, oh wow, it's in color. Like that. And then I heard an audible voice behind me. This is where I want you to stay.
Oh wow.
So I battled with it. And after about 3-4 months, I still went back to Nigeria because I was working in a teaching hospital. I had an apartment. I was doing well. And you know, at 24, 25, that is really a thing.
Yes.
So I thought, I went back, but I lost my peace and eventually went back. So I never wanted to go.
Really?
That story is quite interesting.
I don't know this part of your story.
If I'm going to be honest with you, I hear pastors and ministers say, the Lord called me, and I said, yes, Lord, yes, here I am. I'm not quite like that.
It wasn't that easy.
I never wanted to be a pastor. I was very involved in Christian activity, but if I'm going to be honest, it's about stories. Yeah. If you called me a pastor when I was a lot younger, in my 20s, I'd get very, very annoyed with you. Call me a professor of medicine, call me a millionaire, business entrepreneur, and you know, pastor, please. So I wrestled with it quite a bit, but eventually I'm glad I did.
And to see how God has used you so exponentially, and you didn't want this?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope, I didn't. I mean, I loved God. If I didn't say that, that would be dishonest. I loved God. I just thought there's more to do in life than be a pastor. But I think the dream of my grandfather, I just couldn't escape it in a certain way. I also have a very interesting side. My father, blessed memory, a lovely gentleman, his dad was a native witch doctor. Am I allowed to say that on set?
Yes, I was actually going there, so thank you for taking us. Yes, yes.
My father's father, my grandfather was a native, so I came from a very interesting stock because my maternal grandfather was an evangelist, my paternal grandfather was a native witch doctor. So by the time my twin brother and I were about 10, 11, 12, we were having some very diabolical encounters, some really dark things were going on. I'd sleep at night and something would press down on me. I'd bleed all through the night. I couldn't sleep, developed all kinds of disorders, medically speaking, and so on. And I think that journey drew me close to God. I had real encounters with God. My salvation was not religious. It wasn't, let's just do what mom will be happy about. No. It was real. Right. And my healing was real as well. And generally where you come from is the strength for where you end up going. You can't pull people out from where you've not been yourself. So that's why you want to start right now.
Like, you want this to start now. Whew, I hear you.
Yes.
And by the time you're going back, were you married, dating? What was that?
No.
Oh no.
No, that space you're talking about now. My lovely wife, she's not here today. My lovely wife, I jokingly, we laugh about it all the time, and I have my own spin. And since she's not here, she can't give her side. But I say to people, my wife was chasing me all over the place. But in truth, in reality, my wife and I, we went to the same secondary school. She was 2 years, 3 years behind me. We knew each other. We were attending the same Christian fellowship, but we weren't friends. We just knew each other.
Okay.
Then we went to the same university. We knew each other. She was attending the fellowship. I was pastoring throughout university.
Right.
Then I went to England and was attending a church there. We were not dating. We just knew each other. Yeah. And guess what? She's going to this church, I come into England, and we were in the same church. And still nothing. Nothing. And then I started dating. I'm not supposed to be saying this.
Somebody else. I know that part of the story.
Okay, so I'm dating this other person, and she she's like knowing about it, not saying anything, never said anything to me. Then I started the church. I was single, and she started attending the church.
Wow.
But just as a member, never did said or indicated in any way
Yes.
she had any interest whatsoever. And then my relationship with this other lady breaks down. And one day we're at a wedding reception, and she just walks past, and it's like, lights on. Hey, girl, who are you? That kind of thing. So eventually I prayed about it and approached her. I went to see her. Should I be saying this?
Yes.
I went to see her, and I said, look, this is what I feel in my heart. This is, I'd like you to pray about it. And I get up. Now, I had made up my mind, Kathy, that when I propose to the lady I marry, okay, she will know I'm the one. And if in one day, 24 hours, she doesn't know it's me, then you're not my wife. Okay, so you know that thing where ladies want to be chased, and
Yeah.
so I'm not for that at all. So I'm like, okay, you've got 24 hours, girl, even though I didn't say it.
Right.
Because I just feel, Adam
He just slept and woke up.
this is my wife, and she's like, yeah, let's get on the plan. So I'm like, I'm not doing this chasing thing. So I prayed, I'm like, please. And I get up, and she says, where are you going? And I'm like, I thought I should give you space to think and pray about it. And she says, sit down. Ooh. Where are you going? I don't need to pray about it. I've known you, my husband, for 10 years.
What? All
I
that
knew
time?
that. So I said, but you knew I was dating this other lady. She said, yeah. And I just said to myself, the day you go down the aisle and marry, I know it's done. This is over. But apart from that, that was it.
She should be the one sitting there because then I need to know 10 years you knew this is your man.
10 years, and she never, Kathy indicated she never. I almost fell over. We've been married now almost 3 decades. Our kids are now grown up. They've never heard us in an argument in all those years. They've never. Our house is very peaceful, our home is very peaceful, but the foundation is both myself and herself knew that this is what God wants us to be. And every marriage is hard work, but if you know the principles and you live by them, you can actually have. I was saying to Bishop Eric, I think 2 days ago, I said to him, I said, you know what, I said, I heard my father in the faith many, many years ago before I got married. And he was preaching somewhere, and he said, I've been married 5-6 years, and my wife and I have never had an argument before. And I'll be honest, I'm thinking, yeah, right. You guys are not being real. How can you be real?
Yes.
That's the way I thought at the time. 30 years down the road now, I'm like, oh, wow. You can actually, my son says to me all the time, he's a lawyer now, he says to me, he says, Dad, I'm just going to marry a woman that will give me the kind of home I grew up in.
Wow.
Very peaceful. My home's very peaceful.
Wow. I've heard you say that. You say that all the time.
Have I said that?
You are. Any pulpit you're on, you say that all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, and like, the first time you said it, I said, yeah,
right.
But I hear you, and you spoke about your father in the faith. They celebrated, is it 40 years?
Yes.
Just last month,
yes?
And they said the same thing, and you're like, it's true, I agree. It is possible. Not that I'm in that space yet, but it is just possible. You see it.
Yeah.
Wait, you said Christopher is a lawyer, your son?
Yes, he studied law. He graduated a while back. His sister is studying government and finance. She wants to be an ambassador and so on.
And how does that make you feel?
Proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, proud. I tell you what, though, it's not the academic achievements. It's their faith, their character, their aspirations that make me feel, thank God. Especially in that environment, kids can go really funny. But God has helped my wife and I, and we have amazing kids. And I say that very sincerely. I have pastors and bishops from around the world who say, so what did you do? How did you do it? How did you get it done? And I often say, it's the grace of God, and also following some fundamental principles. Because children learn more from what they see than what you say. And they emulate what they see more than what you say.
Yes, I hear you. And let me track you back to when you said, when you're speaking about marriage and how your home is peaceful, and you said, it's work, but if you follow certain principles, it has no choice but to work. Could you maybe just share two
of those principles?
Yes.
I think, for example, between my wife and I, before we got married, we made a choice. Because she was raised in a home where there was a lot of friction between her dad and mom. And I definitely was raised in a home where there was friction. So before we got married, we made a covenant agreement. Darling, whatever will come against our peace as a family, we will not allow it. So we came to just some basic agreements. If you're upset, this is how you should go about it. My kids know sometimes when dad and mom are not happy with each other, they know. But we made up our minds we would live by certain principles. Right. So no screaming matches, no plate breaking, no bans from certain departments in the house, that kind. So I've never had to go home and drive past the house and stay in the car thinking, oh Lord, what's waiting for me to do? I've never had to do that, kind of thing. Yeah. So I think just that agreement between us has been very, very helpful.
It's profound. So you come back to London after coming back, and now you settle because God says this is where I want you to be. Yeah. So you have to stop practicing medicine. It was just correct me if I'm wrong, it was gynecology?
Gynecology, yes. Obstetrics and gyne. Oh, wow. Well done.
So you had to stop practicing that?
Yes. What happened is when I started my postgraduate in Nigeria, and then when I got into England, I wanted to start practicing in England, but you have to do a conversion exam. It's called PLAB. It's just something you can do. So I'd started preparing for that when God said, I don't want you to do that. And I'm saying to God, I want to do that. I wasn't consecrated like that. Do you see? I'm going to be honest. I wasn't this is God's darling. No, I wasn't having it. So what I did as a compromise is I got a job with the civil service. I just used my A-levels or something. I never told them I had a degree in medicine. And I got a job with the civil service, and I thought in that time I would sit for PLAB and start practicing, complete my postgraduate. When God said after about a year or two, he says to me, I want you to quit your job. I'm going to send you into ministry. No church, nothing. And I'm like, no, I have no intention of doing that. And God wasn't having, God wants to have his way, has his way. Yeah. So eventually, I quit my job and told God, so now what? So he says, I want you to start a church. And I just told him, capital, no, forget it. So for 9 months, I'm in a wrestling match with God. That's just the honest truth. I wonder why grace, I'm an epitome or embodiment of mercy and grace. Why God did just strike me with lightning, I really don't know. Because I wasn't having it. No. So for 9 months, I wasn't having it. I was struggling, wrestling with God, till eventually I gave in and actually had physical withdrawal symptoms. The day I told God, okay, I'll let go of medicine, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. I had sweaty palms, palpitations, insomnia. I thought I was running mad because medicine is all I knew. And now I'm saying to God, I'm in a strange land. I have a strange accent. I'm learning how to drive on the left, because in Nigeria you drive on the right. I said to God, I have the wrong education. I don't have the right theological training. I said, everything about me is wrong.
Yeah.
You definitely don't know what you're doing. So that was my struggle for 9 months. But eventually I said, okay, God, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And that's where Glory House Churches was
born.
born.
Yes. So what are some of the pitfalls you think, or you know, that especially for pastors make when going into ministry in this day and age? What are you seeing?
I think the charismatic movement globally is in danger of modernization that takes away from it the impact of redemption and the message of the gospel. I genuinely think so. I think there's a lot of entertainment, there's a lot of fanfare. We are raising, if care is not taken, a generation of Christians that find it to be persecution if the air conditioning in the building is not working, or there are not enough screens, or the music is not top notch. And when we were born again, we did it in the sun with our hands clapping, and we would see God move in amazing ways. So I think for ministers, ministry is not about money, it's not about fame, it's not about material possessions, it's not about carnal competition, it's about loving God and doing His will. Even if you're not known on earth, heaven will celebrate you. And we're making ministry about the now, but really ministry is about eternity. And you remember I died in the year 2004. And that's one of the things that I came back with, that if I was to speak to a minister, I would tell them, like Paul said, I have run my race, and I've completed my course, and I've fought a good fight. And we should be more sensitive to accountability to God than the applause of men that derail many ministries. So that's my honest.
I felt that. I felt that. And that is critical and important, especially for the times that we live in. Yes. We are, for sure, without a doubt, coming back for more of Dr. Albert Odulele's story right after this commercial break. Welcome back to the program. It's What's Your Story here on KTN Home. I am Catherine Mwangi, having a great conversation. I'm having a wonderful, unbelievable conversation with my father in the faith, Dr. Albert Odulele, who is a charismatic, dynamic conference speaker, pastor, teacher, and a seer. S-E-E-R, okay? I didn't say that in part one because I didn't want to spook you all out. But I know what I have been through where that, gifting of yours is concerned. And I don't even know why I said it now unless we activate it. But we won't go there now. Let's go to you now deciding I'm done fighting with God these 9 months. You described that. I'm like, I really am my father's daughter. Those are the things I tell you. I'm not doing that, me. I'm like, now I see where that came from. So 9 months you fight. And then finally you say, okay, whatever you want, let's do this. And how did you then?
So then I'd never pastored a church before. Most definitely not in England. So I had no idea. And I'll be honest with you, I think that was the strength of our takeoff as a church, because I had to pray about everything. Where should we go? What should we do? What's the program for a Sunday service? How do you set up a children's church? So what I did is I decided, okay, I'm going to go to Bible school, theological school, just get some training, and apply to 3 or 4 of the best charismatic ones in England. And they admitted me in all. Kensington Temple, and so on, and things like that. And then I didn't have the money to pay for it. So I go to God and I say, see, this is not working. I'm single, I'm broke. I can't even get into Bible school. Yeah, I told you you're making a mistake. And God said, who told you to go to Bible school? I didn't send you there. That as many as are led by the Spirit of God, I don't want you to learn stuff you will now need to unlearn. I will teach you. So I embarked on a journey of 2-3 night vigils every single week, just me and God. And that one of them was the Word. I studied the Word cover to cover, over and over again. The second was prayer. The third was praise. I would just worship God and say, really? Okay, I'll go with this. Looks like error to me, but okay, let's just go in the flow. I'll tell you one thing though. I wrote a note, I still have it up till today. And I said to God, I'm giving you 2 years. If in 2 years there are no results, I'm out. I'm done. I'm gone. See you. Bye. And I know that God knew I meant it. It wasn't faith. Let me not fool you. It wasn't faith. It was a cop-out. I just wanted to give God reason why I left. You can't say I disobeyed you. So I gave God 2 years, and that was it. The thing about it is, in 2 years, Glory House had already become a household name in parts of London. So I couldn't, in good conscience, quit. No. There you go. So I that's what happened, really. We went into it, and it was like people just got involved. Yes. And just got on and on.
Yes, like to date. And the ministry is birthed in different parts of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we planted churches in Europe, in South America, in Africa, and so on. Yeah.
My goodness. So, Pastor Albert, by the doctor is not like those conferred things. He's schooled. Not that I'm not hating on that. But he's a real doctor. One of the things we grapple with, I think anywhere in the world, and it's no longer an African problem, is distinguishing the fake from the genuine. Yeah. How do we do that? Because there's a mushrooming of, I know darkness is doing its thing, darkness, light, but then there are people who genuinely cannot tell the difference. Yes.
Yeah. If I was to talk to somebody who asked me that question just on the high street, I would say to them, just anywhere you go, find out the fervency, the central word content of that church and ministry. You cannot build ministry on a gift, prophecy, miracles, signs, wonders, because the devil works miracles. The devil prophesies accurately too. The magicians in the palace of Pharaoh, they turned the rod into snakes. Yes. So the devil has his parallels as well, but the devil cannot parallel the word of truth. So Jesus said, it's my word that sets people free. And when people left Jesus, he asked his disciples, are you going to leave me too? And look at what they said. Where else will we get the word of life? So I say to believers, young and old, just look for the word. Not the hype, not the excitement, not the media, not the, all those things are good. I have no issues with them. But at the end of the day, if the word is not being preached, walk.
Yeah, like run.
Yeah, run.
Get
out of there.
I like that. I like
the Azusa Street reviver, William Seymour, that it started well. It started with good intentions. It was emphasis on the gifts of the Spirit and miracles and things like that. And the word content was very low. And eventually the devil took a hold of it, and it turned into a lot of witchcraft. So there are many ministries today that started well with little word and eventually runs adrift and all kinds of things get involved.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so profound. I didn't know that about Azusa, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, okay. Let me now come back to, thank you for giving us that wisdom. Now, to your personal story. I know we'll be this way. Forgive me. You know, it's, you know. So would you like to share with us about your death experience? You touched on it. Would you? Yes.
I was on a mission trip with Bishop Jakes. We'd been around the world. Actually, we came to Kenya
Yes, that
together.
time he came, yes.
That time he came. We came together. And then one of his sons fell ill, so he had to leave in a hurry. So actually, I had to take some of his meetings that had been lined up, and then didn't go back to London. I just dashed down to Dallas naturally just to make sure everything's okay. So I was with him, and then on the 22nd of December, 2004, I remember the date like yesterday, I was on a flight back to London from Dallas, looking forward to, going home just before Christmas, miss my family, and then church and the usual activities. Got on the plane, it's a night flight, and I lie down, recline the seat. It's a 9-hour flight. I'm thinking, yes, I'll rest and sleep and get ready. And I wasn't fasting, I ate, so it must have been 45 minutes, an hour into the flight. Recline my seat, cover myself with a blanket, and then this unusual presence comes into the plane. Enough for me to open my eyes. I can't explain it. I just opened my eyes. And then I am, Kathy, looking at an angel leaning over me. I wasn't sleeping. I was wide awake. I'm looking at this angel, and the angel says to me, "It's time to go." 2-3 words. And I knew immediately what it meant. So I say back to the angel, "But I'm not ready." Another 2-3 words. And then the angel says to me, "It's not for you to determine, but the one who sent me." And grabs me by the hand, leans over, grabs me by the hand, and pulls me out of the seat of the plane. Now, when I come up out of my seat, it was natural. I didn't feel pain. It's just that I look back, and my physical frame is on the seat of the plane. And then I'm dying. I'm dying. I knew who I was. I wasn't disoriented. I knew who my wife was. I knew who my kids were. I knew I was the pastor of the church. I knew where I was coming from, where I was going. I'm dying. And then I'm thinking, I'm not ready for this. What will happen? And then the angel, I look around the cabin of the plane. There were 2 other people all in the cabin. I was flying first class that night. So there was 4 or 5 other people in the cabin of the plane. And then the angel pushes me gently, and I enter into a tunnel out of the plane. I'm conscious of the angel behind me. I'm going down, and I have this overriding sense of what will happen to my kids, what will happen to my wife, what about the church. I imagined them taking my body out of the plane when the plane lands in England. But gradually, as we drift down the tunnel, those thoughts get to be distant. And I suddenly am overwhelmed with a consciousness of assignment. And this hard to describe sense of assignment hit me. Jesus said, and without wanting to preach, Jesus said, "I come according as it is written concerning me in the volume of the books to do your will." And the whole purpose of life is to do the will of God, not to marry, not to have kids, but to do the will of God. And as we travel down the tunnel, I become acutely aware of purpose, and then regret grips my soul in words that cannot be described. Gravity was lifted off my thoughts. When I say these things, sometimes I almost start tearing because it's as real as it was yesterday. And I could remember everything. If you said 2 p.m. on the 3rd of June, 1974, I would remember. What I did, where I was, what I was doing, what somebody did, I remembered everything. And the gripping thing about it is I remembered lost opportunities to serve God, lost opportunities to win souls, lost opportunities to feed the hungry. It was overwhelming. And then as I drift along, the angel still behind me, we come up against this membrane, and I kind of knew it was a point of no return. I just knew it. Don't ask me how. And the angel pushes me through the membrane, and something that I am yet to find the words to describe happened. I saw eternity and the expanse of eternity in comparison to time, and I broke down, a pastor in excruciating pain, mental and emotional pain. I regretted it. The word regret does not carry the weight of it. I saw the expanse of eternity and realized that time is infinitesimally minute and incomparable to eternity, and that it's an unfair advantage that God gives us time to invest in eternity. So you have 70 years, 20 years, 30 years. Oh, he lived long, he lived short. But in the comparison of eternity, there's no difference between 10 years and 70 years. None whatsoever in comparison to eternity. And I leaned over. I knew I was born again, which is the other thing. When a man dies, I'm not afraid of death, because the experience of salvation travels in death. So I came out of my body and I knew I was born again. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, what did I do with my life? And then I wept and said, God, give me 3 days. My God. I lamented, give me 3 days. Amazing. Not 3 days to travel first class. Not 3 days to be the big man of God. Not 3 days to be on a billboard. Not 3 days to be on TV. Not 3 days to be with my wife. No. 3 days to fulfill give me 3 days to make investments. Give me 3 days. Let me just go back. 3 days. I promise you, those 3 days, I'll do damage. That's what I lament. And when suddenly this powerful force pulled me back out through the membrane, all the way up the tunnel, back into the cabin of the plane, and my body was still there. By this time, they'd switched off the lights in the cabin and all of that. How long I was in that time, I have no idea, to be honest. And the angel pushes me back into my body. So I get back into my body and I'm gasping and choking, almost the experience a baby has when they are born. I sit up and I struggled to first sit up. I was in fear. I thought, is this a dream? Did this really happen? I knew it did happen, but I was in shock. And the angel appeared again and sat in front of me and said, let me talk to you and explain what's just happened. Otherwise, your mind will delete it and you will come to the conclusion, I just had a bad dream. And spoke to me till the next time. What I knew next is the pilot said, we have 45 minutes to land it. So I must have been in conversation with that angel for 5 hours, 6 hours. And I didn't realize it. He told me about life, told me about destiny, told me about assignment, told me that 30 years or 70 years don't matter, that live long is not the chronological clock, it is content. And that a dog's lifespan is 6 years, an elephant's lifespan is 80 years. So a dog lives 6 years and live long. And that it's not about the length, it's the content. That Methuselah, the angel told me, Methuselah lived 900 and something years. And yet it says in the scriptures, he lived, he married, he had children, and he died. 900 years. Jesus lived 30 years, and it is written, no book can contain. So he told me, whatever years you live, don't weep over a short or long life. Weep over the content of your life. And just before the angel left, it now said, I know when this is over, you will convince yourself this never happened. I am going to give you a sign. In 1 or 2 days' time, hundreds of thousands of people will die. When it happens, you will remember. So I arrive in London, I think on a Friday. On Sunday, I'm preaching in church. And I announce that this is what happened to me. This is what the angel said, pray for me. Thank God I did. We get home that Sunday and the tsunami of 2004 happened and hundreds of thousands. And I wept in my living room at home. So since 2004 till now, I have committed myself completely. And I think it has strongly influenced my disposition towards ministry. It's not about what people think is important. And I asked for 3 days. 2014 now is a lot more than 3 days. And every day, this morning the same, I wake up and I say, thank you, Jesus. Another day to make an investment in eternity. So that's my story, 2004.
That is the story. That is the story, because then after that, everything became meaningful.
Yes. My whole life took a different turn. I told God, I'm so sorry for arguing with you about medicine. I'm so sorry for arguing with you about being a pastor. You know, I committed myself to God afresh personally. So it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what you do or don't do. For me, I do it as on to God, and I'm grateful every day. I don't have time for bitterness. I don't have time for anger. I don't have time for. I'm just like, you know, I'm alive. Hey, another day. And I tell people that you rarely talk to people who came back from the grave, came back from the dead. So I said, I'm telling you now. And when I give altar calls, I give it with passion. Hey, guys, you don't want to do this.
Dr. Albert, I have a couple of scriptures here that I would want you to like break down almost to granular level for the non-Christian. Okay. I didn't need to prepare you.
Should I be nervous?
No. If you're nervous, then what will we be? Okay. As a man thinketh, so is he.
Yes. Your thinking matters to God. Your thinking governs your life. You can never rise above your thoughts. 3 John says, I wish above all things you may prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. Your mind matters. Oftentimes Jesus would say to the disciples, what do you think? Because their thinking mattered. And I say to people that one of the greatest investments of a man is investments in the right way of thinking. Your attitude, your dispositions, self-recriminations, regrets, positivity. One generation said, they are like giants, we're like grasshoppers. 2 or 3 of them said, we are well able. You're thinking. So yes, as a man thinks, so are you. The worst kind of poverty is not financial, it's intellectual or mental. And we live in a day of information freedom. So you can get information anywhere. And I think people should develop themselves and their minds, not only in the scriptures, but in their field of endeavor. So we have to have substance and be trailblazers in our field of endeavor. And that requires intellectual exercise. Does that apply? What the question is?
You've overdone it. Expectedly so. Love it. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their food in the summer.
Yes. one of my favorite texts.
Oh.
Yes, because the race is not for the swift. The battle is not for the strong. It's just time and chance. But when the Bible says time and chance, it's not talking about accident or coincidence or luck. It's talking about a God who rules over time and chance. So I'm one of those who believe that it's not strength that gives us victory, it's principles. And ants are principled. So principles give us victory. If you look at Abraham, and I've been talking about this a bit recently, if you look at Abraham, in Genesis 12, God appeared to him, made him a promise. Genesis 13, God appeared to him, made a promise. By the time God appeared to him in Genesis 17, I said, I am the Lord, I am your God, your exceeding great one. And Abraham looks at him, I know you, you're good at making promises and you never really fulfill them. Can't you see that I go childless? And God looks at Abraham and says, you see, this is your problem. Walk before me and be blameless. So Abraham, your problem is not my promise to you. Your problem is I told you to walk. So there is a walk to every prophecy. There is a responsibility to every promise. Mary said to the servants, whatever he says, do. The water coming to wine, turning to wine, required them to do something.
Yes.
So look at the ant. It's not the strength, it's the principles they walk. So I believe that passage refers, at least to a large extent, to the Christian understanding that there is a responsibility in the individual for the fulfillment of the promise. There's more to the blessings of God than money. So I think what drives me, the fuel in my tank, is I just love God and I love God's people. That's what I would.
I was gonna say that. Your love for people isn't like anything I've experienced. Like you just really love, and you don't judge. You know, I mean, we've told you some ratchet stories, man. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to share this with him. But you know, you are so warm, affectionate, and you really, even when you text, so your love, I mean, the love just, you know, it just hits you. You love people. And I think that's what makes you different, because you love without any expectation.
Yeah.
You just love.
I do.
You know,
I do.
and
I got that also from my father in the faith.
Yeah.
Though. I genuinely, not many ministers do that. You can be a minister, you can be Kathy, you can be a minister, and you love the light, you love the attention, you love the fame, you love the crowd, you love to be heard. But for some reason, God has helped me. I just love Him and people.
I love it.
Yeah.
You see, because you don't have time, so this means that you have to make us a promise that when you come back, we will do this again, right? Daddy, you can't be taking that long to make a promise. I mean, come on.
Of course I will. It's a joy. It's an honor. I love it. I do interviews around the place. I've never found any as relaxing and fluid as when I'm doing it with you.
Thank you.
So I'm biased.
Oh, I love you. And
thank you.
I am so grateful that you came today.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. And thank you for the great job you're doing. Great job. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. And to you watching, in case you missed any of it, it's up on our YouTube channel, and we repeat as well this coming weekend. To take care of yourselves. Would you like to give someone a word of encouragement?
Yes. Never let the enemy tell you it's over. If you read the book of Psalms 150, it says, let everything that has breath praise the Lord. And sometimes that is taught as if what God is saying is if you're breathing, give Him praise. But actually what God is saying is the fact that you're breathing is reason to praise. If you're breathing, there is hope, there's joy, there are testimonies and great things that lie ahead. I am the embodiment of somebody who's gone through life situations that make you want to give up, just totally throw in the towel. But you will be amazed how God has plans way beyond what the enemy intended. Keep going. Medical, financial, emotional, marital, whatever the challenges of life, at least I want to drop this word with you. If he did it for me, he'll do it for you. Keep going, you'll soon see. And those who came to mock you will soon gather to celebrate you. Love you with all my heart. God bless you.
I can't speak again. It will be a sin. It needs to end there. Thank you. Wow.